Yeah, if you're joining me live, I think the race will start in about 1 minute's time. So get ready, get buckled up. This is the starting grid. Leclerc, Piastri, Sainz, Norris, Russell, Verstappen and Hamilton, Tsunoda, Albon, Gasly. Of course, both Albon and Gasly into Q3 for the first time this season. Next up is Ocon, Ricciardo, Stroll and Alonso and Sargeant with Perez, of course, in, well, P16, as of course, the two horses of Hulkenberg and Magnussen have taken a grid penalty by the looks of things, and I think they'll be starting in a pit lane. And it, of course, is now the formation lap. Look at that. Bottas and Zhou. Oh, jeez, Sauber have gone awful. By the way, those two actually qualified 19th and 20th, but because of Haas's penalty, the two Saubers will be starting on the 9th row of the grid, which I suppose is an improvement of sorts. So yes, if you're joining me, the formation lap is underway. Leclerc is now leading the cars through the hairpin at the back of the track. And, well, Hulkenberg and Magnussen are way back. Need to get a move on those two. And they're now all slowing up for the starting spots at the front of the grid. The two horses really need to get a move on with their formation lap, I've got to say. I'm not entirely sure why they've been relegated to the back of the grid, but I presume they've probably have done an engine change or something to make sure that I don't know why on earth they're starting at the back, but it's got to be strategic because I think Haas have realised their car just isn't very quick around in race trim, and they're probably going to be hoping for a safety car today. And yes, those are the tyres. Oh, a lot of different choices between the drivers. Of course, the two Mercedes and Verstappen are on hard tyres. Ocon is going on hard, so I presume he's going long as well. And then, of course, most of the midfield runners behind Ricciardo, two Astons, Sargeant, Perez, Bottas are all on hard. Magnussen is also on hard tyres. And now we're about to get the race underway. And we're away. Has anyone made a move? No, it doesn't look like anyone has overtaken anyone. Oh, Stroll has got past Ricciardo. And Bottas has beaten, and Bottas and Hulkenberg have passed Perez. Magnussen has passed Zhou at the back. Oh my, there's a lot. Oh, and Sainz says I've got a problem. What happened to Carlos Sainz? It's down to 16th. That's mental. Of course, as a result, everyone in the top 15 move up a place, while Sainz, I don't know what. Oh man, I think There's yellow flags. It's a red flag. It's a red flag.
Is that Sergio Perez, Kevin Magnussen, and Zhou stuck there? Are we going to see what's going on? Carlos Sainz is
Oh, it appears Hulkenberg, Perez, and Magnussen all had a massive collision on the run up to Macedonia.
Oh, that's a red flag.
Yeah, that's going to be a red flag.
There's a red flag.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think Magnussen and Perez may be out of the race. We get a red flag as there's 3 cars there stopped.
Yeah, that's right. So that's right. Say Rigora. I just seen it. Of course, I've just seen a track map. Hulkenberg, Perez, and Magnussen had a huge collision. I can just tell.
There's just a cockpit and a wheel left. Nothing else. And then the 2 Haas.
Bloody hell! What a massive crash they've had. I wonder if everyone's fine. To be honest. Oh dear, Perez's season has gone from bad to worse, everyone, as of course the bottom 3 cars are out of the race. Sainz is still in the race despite, I'm not sure what entirely happened, but he dropped 13 places off on the first lap. Oh no. Well, that's my worst fear there. I think it's time to pedal my agenda again. Yep. I think for the Monaco Grand Prix only, they should force everyone in the grid to use 2 different make 2 pit stops throughout this race. Well, no, not 2 pit stops. Use 3 different compounds of tyres throughout this race because, of course, with the red flag coming out, everyone is going to be going to change tyres, and I don't know whether the red flag allows everyone to use up their pit stop allocation, but if that's the case, then we really have got about 78 laps of just the cars going around the track, not overtaking each other, which is going to be sad. Yeah, Perez is out. I saw that. Well, the 2 horses are out. I mean, their decision to take a grid penalty and start the back has backfired horrifically. Just terribly.
It looks like the Haas of one of them is pretty intact. So if they can get that one back to the pits, he could be, they already touched the car afterwards. So I think the car's out. I don't think he's going to be able to get back.
I am sorry about that, everybody. We're going to have to wait for probably about another 20 minutes or so for the 2 horses and Perez's stricken, destroyed Red Bull to be taken off the track.
That's not a carbon fiber. The Red Bull there's nothing left of it.
Dear God, Red Bull season. I have to say this, but with the amount of money they have to spend on fixing Perez's car for Canada, I mean, another setback for Red Bull in a season where it appeared to be that they were in a comfortable position in the first few races of the season, but recently, with McLaren's renaissance in form and Leclerc's pole position in qualifying yesterday, the heat is really being turned up on the Red Bull team, and Verstappen there, as you can see, is in 5th place. This is going to be a long day today for the Red Bull boys, a very long day. Sainz might be reinstated to 3rd if they did not make it to Sector 1. Now that's an interesting one. I mean, I'm just wondering, where is the line for... Huge advantage for the people who started on mediums. Oh, yes. Massive advantage. Oh, dear. Kevin Magnussen is getting... you know what it is? I think Kevin Magnussen is getting a race ban now because he's only 2 points away from being banned from a race. And I'm sorry, Kevin. I think you're going to have to sit out Canada for this one. Or Spain. I'm not sure. Which one... which race is next? Is it Spain or Canada? Well, where are we going to next? I mean, yeah, Kevin Magnussen is going to miss a race this season. I'm sorry, Kevin. Not good enough.
left, it was stuck as if it had gone in.
I'm not sure how the tire change compound rule works because, of course, I am aware that you must use 2 different compounds of tire throughout the race in order to be stay within the regulations of the tires you can use during a race distance. Whether you can switch tires under a red flag is I'm not entirely sure whether that counts because surely I mean, and especially at the racetrack we are at, I mean goodness me, I mean the people who start on hard tires, they are absolutely in the mud. Like I don't know what they're gonna do. Like the likes of Russell, Verstappen, and Hamilton, along with, of course, Stroll, his teammate Alonso, Sargeant, Bottas, Ocon, they have got problems. Because if that's the case, then, I mean, they literally are going to have to hope for another safety car or a red flag to come out, or alternatively, make a pit stop at some point during the race under green flag conditions and pretty much give up any hopes of getting points because I
Behind everyone trying to sort it out, and then he sees the accident and stops. He stops in the track. That was a big move.
I swear to God, though, I can't remember what I saw at the start where Perez lost 2 positions to, I think it was Bottas and Ocon. A shocking start, by the way, by Perez. I mean, I was just amazed how slow he was off the start line. And then, of course, Magnussen went and ploughed straight into the back of him. And my God, Lord Magnussen, mate, you know what? I mean, is this guy even going to have a drive for next season? Because, you know, yes, you could argue he was given a lifeline in terms of his chances of having a seat in Formula 1 for 2025 after, of course, Hulkenberg announced his move to Sauber for next season. But with the way he is driving, Kevin Magnussen is dead meat now. I just... My goodness me, Haas have got a real problem with Magnussen, like... I mean, ideally, if he was still driving well, he would be an undoubtedly a solid shout to remain at the Haas team for 25. But if he's constantly causing incidents like this, considering the fact that he sacked Mick Schumacher for what I would argue was more or less the same sort of dangerous driving, albeit with less horrific consequences. I mean, Mick Schumacher was sacked less for this, you know. I've got to say this, Kevin Magnussen is literally walking the tightest rope you can ever imagine in your life. This guy has literally got crocodiles underneath his feet. And yet for some reason he keeps wanting to walk closer towards the crocodiles. Do you think Behrman will take the car seat? Yes, I think Behrman will replace Magnussen for Canada because, of course, we saw what Behrman could do in a Ferrari at Saudi Arabia, and he's proven himself to be a capable backup driver, despite his, of course, his problems in Formula 2 right now, where he just doesn't seem to be capable of scoring points there. Yeah, we're going to have to wait this one out, I'm afraid. 15 minutes. Oh, goodness me. And of course, I've been attacked by some stupid advert there. I think I'm going to have to quickly find another stream about this because... Do not worry, I will find a new timing stream after this because, you know, as it stands, Leclerc still easily the favourite of still favourite to, win this race. I mean, he started on the medium tyres. I think it's the Mercedes of Hamilton and Russell, along with Max Verstappen's Red Bull, that have started on hard tyres. But because of the red flag, I'm not entirely. I mean, there could be some tyre changes. The life of a number 2. Sometimes you don't want to. Oh, right. Perez is getting clamped in. Yeah. Yeah, well, as far as I'm concerned, I mean, Perez has been, despite his dreadful performance yesterday, well, you wouldn't want to. I mean, you have to say, yesterday was terrible, but today, shambolic bad luck there, and I don't even know why I'm looking at this timing screen. This timing screen doesn't look very nice, if I'm going to be honest. No offense to that bloke. So Checo's car has only got one rear wheel and a safety zone. That's all. Goodness me, it sounds like almost like Roman Grosjean's accident without the fire. I mean, what was I gonna say? Yeah, obviously the two McLarens of Piastri and Norris are in for another podium. I presume, since of course Carlos Sainz had a disastrous start, but I think the big question is where on earth does Carlos Sainz get re-handed third place due to, of course, where the accident happened? Because everyone is back in the pit lane and out of the cars, and medium runners can switch to hard tires and try to go to the end. But oh yeah, the hard runners are in trouble yet. The people who started on the hard tires, yeah, I did say that. Big trouble for them. Real big trouble. And I'm gonna go back to the timing monitor here. Gotta say, this guy has got some beautiful graphics. Look at that, nice and big. And of course, he's got a nice circuit map next to him. Gotta realise, now, of course, once the... Okay, Ocon tried to attack Gasly into Portier, but there wasn't room, and the two made contact, sending Ocon in the air. Oh. Jesus whipped Esteban Ocon. What were you doing? Ocon, mate, you're right in behind Gasly. Like, what are you doing, man? You're at Monaco and it's your teammate again. Like, you're always trying to... Oh, Jesus, bloke, honestly. Like, this is why I keep saying Pierre Gasly needs to leave Alpine, because he's got such an a-hole for a teammate. It's unbelievable what sort of character Ocon is. And, you know, Ocon is down in 15th. Oh, I'm sorry, Ocon, mate. You really are an absolute twazzock. I mean, if any of your fanboys come cussing Pierre Gasly out for that incident, I'm just going to yell, because how did Alonso, Stroll and Sargeant avoid the accident? I don't even have a clue, to be honest. But one thing for certain is that Kevin Magnussen is getting a race ban now. There is no way he's getting out of this scot-free. Like, the guy has been easily the worst driver on the grid. I mean, to be fair, Perez has been pretty awful as well, but Magnussen is on another scale of terrible. And it has to be said, I mean, Red Bull's development for this season might be retarded slightly by the fact that they'll have to spend a bit of money on building a new car for Perez. And as for I really do want to know what happened to Carlos Sainz. Did he pick up a puncher or something? I'm so confused. Like, we're all talking about the accident, yet I mean, we took our eyes off what was it, the collision between Gasly and Ocon, and the fact that Carlos Sainz dropped 13 positions in the first lap. And just so you know, I think because the marshals touched Hulkenberg and Magnussen's cars, they are. I don't think either of them will be allowed to will be permitted to race again, unfortunately, for the restart. Oh yeah, obviously I kind of knew it. Sainz and a punch, obviously there's no way Sainz would lose so many positions like that so dramatically and still be able to run around the track compared to, of course, what happened to the three drivers at the bottom of your screen. Carlos Sainz and Oscar Piastri, they've had their fair share of run-ins this season, haven't they? I'm sure they're best mates off the track after this. Oh yeah. Oh yes. And thanks to all that chaos, I mean, Lance Stroll is somehow in a point scoring position, which is hilarious, and yet Daniel Ricciardo still can't get in the top 10, which is, yeah, I mean, sorry, Daniel, mate, you're in serious trouble as well, my friend. Yes, you haven't actually, like, caused any incidents on track like a few drivers I could mention, but your pace has been terrible. As for the rest of the grid, I mean, Russell beating Hamilton again. And around this track, yeah, well, I don't need to tell you that overtaking is nigh on impossible. And if you do try and squeeze your car down one part of the track, well, you either end up having damage to your car like Gasly and Ocon, or you end up taking yourself out along with Perez and Hulkenberg. And God, the future looks horribly dim for Kevin Magnussen because, of course, at this point, I think Haas are surely considering having two rookie drivers at their team next year because, frankly, Kevin Magnussen is now hit rock bottom. And any two rookie drivers they get, Behrman and Kimi Antonelli, they surely can't do worse than what Kevin Magnussen is doing because a lot of Kevin Magnussen's driving is down to the fact he is furiously defending for his life due to his lack of pace. It is all down to his lack of pace now. He doesn't have the speed to be able to compete at this level anymore. And with two younger drivers who do have the speed, I mean, yeah, they will not have to defend like this. And yeah, I think, yeah, as someone said, of course, I think as long as the cars did not cross the first sector line up to, I think, was it up down to past that comes right after Massenet and the corner that comes after it. Yeah, I think Carlos Sainz can retain P3 because, of course, they threw the red flags for the Hulkenberg Perez Magnussen collision that happened just before Massenet, which is, of course, still well within Sector 1. Oh, yeah. And yes, Carlos Sainz, as you can tell from the order for the restart, Carlos Sainz will be returning to P3, meaning that Lance Stroll will drop out of the top 10, which, well... So, oh yeah, and that means Ocon will return to P11 with Gasly in P10, Albon P9. I think pretty much everyone moves back down. Everyone in the top 9 moves back down a position with Stroll going back down to 12th. Alonso could score points here, but he's on hard tyres. He's on hot. And would you look? Oh, yeah, of course. Stroll and Alonso. Have they made a pit stop? It looks like it was. Oh, man. Oh, yeah. Aston Martin have gone and pitted both cars by the looks of it. But, although, of course, they're still on hard tyres, interestingly enough. I don't know about Pedal Porsche, to be honest. Where could Porsche go after this year? I mean, is Zhou going to remain at Sauber? Will Bottas stay there? And as for whether Haas would want to have Porsche, I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. I'm just saying this, folks, and I think it is official now. Kevin Magnussen is dead meat in this sport. There is no future for that guy in Formula One. Absolutely no future after that massive incident. I mean, at this rate, like, if he does cause another driving accident when he returns to his race ban, I would not be surprised if Haas are forced to make a very difficult decision from Kevin Magnussen and decide to tell him at some point at somewhere like, I don't know, Spa, Holland, or Italy, that his career is going to end right there and there, to be honest, because he's just getting involved in too many stupid incidents. It's just heroic debut for Magnussen. Yes, I remember the 2014 Australian Grand Prix. He looked like a star of the future, and you know, he's had his moments. 2018 was a great year for Magnussen. He did well at times at the 2019 season. He had a great comeback to F1 in 2022. But since then, it's been all downhill for the Danish Viking. And when it's over, it is definitely over. And in Kevin Magnussen's case, I mean, he can barely keep up with Hulkenberg to save his life. So what's the point of keeping him? Sorry. And yeah, he's a loyal and well-respected member of the Haas team, but Haas now really need to move on. And I think Ayo Komatsu, or whatever their new team principal name is going to have to make a very hard decision with, of course, the team owner Gene Haas over Kevin Magnussen. And I think both of them will come to a mutual agreement that Kevin Magnussen will have to leave Haas soon. It's just untenable the way he's driving. Yes, I remember the day when Sebastian Vettel made his Grand Prix debut at the 2007 American Grand Prix. You know, yes, he overshot the first corner, but he was right up there in the top 8, scored a point of his debut for BMW Sauber. Oh, by the time the cars come out behind the safety car to take another standing restart, there will be 76 racing laps left. Is that too many for the hard compound to survive? So, oh, right, so okay. The cars will circulate around for 2 laps behind the safety car before they restart the race properly, meaning that 2 racing laps will have been completed. In 2019, Hamilton was fitted with mediums on lap 11 and made it to the end, but it was a close thing. James Fowles has already said that he thinks no pit stop from here is too big an ask. Yeah, but here's the thing, though. It's so hard to overtake around Monaco. It is almost nigh on impossible. So, I mean, there is a possibility some of the people that might well have to switch to medium tyres in order to fulfill their obligations of using a separate compound for the race could well make it to the end on medium tyres. Like, I mean, yes, I know Hamilton was so slow towards the end of the race at the 2019 Monaco Grand Prix, where of course he had like 3 or 4 cars all over his rear wing, but these cars are 2 meters wide now. They are massive. And we have to remember what racetrack this is, okay? So sorry, I apologize for that. Making it to the end of the race is doable for the people who might be switching to medium tires. And just so we are aware, of course, the race order will be reset in a few minutes' time when the cars come out again once they clean up all the damage from the big accident between Perez and the 2 Haas drivers. So, yeah, as you may realise, Ocon will return to P11, whilst Carlos Sainz will go back to P3 ahead of Lando Norris. And most of the top 10 will move back down a position, as you can see on the screen. Of course, Ocon did collide with Gasly, for those who didn't realise. And of course, Carlos Sainz had a very unlucky punch-up after colliding with Perez on the first lap. All of which was overshadowed by that monster collision between the 2 horses and Sergio Perez, who of course failed to make it to Q3, failed to get out of Q1 for a second consecutive year after qualifying 18th. I'm not kidding. He qualified 18th yesterday. That has got to be an absolute all-time low for Sergio Perez. Yes, I feel sorry for him because he got caught up in that unfortunate accident, but yeah, no. I mean, goodness me, Kevin Magnussen, you really are done for now. Kevin Magnussen beat a Ferrari. Yeah, don't remind me of that. Please don't remind me of that. I know who that Ferrari was, but we have to remember, of course, Ferrari produced that infamous F14T that season. So, do you really think, would you really think there'd be many drivers who would have got anywhere near to scoring 161 points like Fernando Alonso did? 13 minutes to restart will be coming, folks. 13 minutes. Oh my god, I think I might need a break because Piastri and Sainz might also have damage from turn 1. There will be no investigation though, and the race start, 15:44 local time, which means 44, which I think that's going to be another 10 minutes time. Oh yeah, and of course they're having to fix the barriers around Massaday because, of course, a track like Monaco, there is no runoff area, and of course, it's no surprise that an incident like this can cause such a lengthy delay. And yes, that's right, 14:44 British summer time for those in the UK, Portugal, Ireland, and Iceland. And of course, some parts of Africa, depending on what time zone it is over there. Of course, we should remember 2 years ago, I mean, was it? Yeah, 2 years ago, the race finished at, like, I think it was like, was it 7 o'clock local time? Because of that massive, was it a huge red flag for the rain delay? That was absolutely time consuming, by the way. That was an absolute farce that day. I have to say the decision to start the race beyond the safety car and then allow them to have a standing start is just baffling. I don't understand that. What sort of decision is that? Like, why is that necessary, Formula One? Like, are they worried that there might be a piece of debris that's not being cleaned up from the big incident between the three cars at the bottom of the list? That is some baffling stuff. I think when it comes to the people's opinions of Vettel and Raikkonen, I think it's more a case of they're underappreciated. Because we all know how great they are, or how much they achieved during their careers, but it's more the fact that people just seem to want to find a reason to slag them off. And would you look at that? I mean, hang on a minute. It's wait, hang on a minute. Has Charles Leclerc gone up to second place in the championship? I completely missed that out. My God, Sergio, I know Perez has only got 107 points. My God, Perez is really in the mud, if I'm going to have to be honest. Very unfortunate we got up in that accident, but I mean, that's what you get for qualifying P18 around Monaco. And Perez could be fifth, oh my Lord. I mean, yeah, this season is an absolute disaster for Perez, I have to say this. If Perez doesn't pick up results in the next 5 or so races, I mean, it could be over for him at Red Bull, because with the current cost cap regulations in place, of course, the amount of development that Red Bull can do, along with the departure of Adrian Newey, is going to hamper them next season. And Red Bull need a number 2. They need a good number 2. Hamilton's radio, I told you so, guys, was his response. This is likely his response to starting on hard tyres and now having to finish on mediums. Oh dear, Hamilton having yet another argument with his Mercedes crew about everything once again. This is turning into quite a long season for Lewis Hamilton, of course, who is going to be leaving Mercedes for Ferrari at the end of this year. Apparently, there's rumours that Carlos Sainz could be joining Williams at the end of the season. Make of that what you will, because that is... God, actually, no, I'm wrong. Perez is down to 4th place in the championship. What an absolute... That is incredible. I mean, Norris has jumped him after the past 2 races, along with Leclerc. I mean, we can't forget, of course, Perez finished down in, what was it, 7th place or 8th place in the last race. And then, of course, he also finished in 4th place after being given a after Sainz was giving a time penalty due to, of course, Perez's crazy start at Miami. K-Bag, I had a good part of my front on Perez's rear. When he went into the wall, I just got pushed into the wall. I trusted he was going to make space. You have to have a car width. Otherwise, you leave the guy with no option. It's a lot of cost for the team and a lot of work for the guys. From my point of view, I was there and I got squeezed into the wall. Yeah, it's absolutely disrespectful to compare Vettel and Kimi to Magnussen and Grosjean. I don't know why on earth are you comparing those two legends of the sport to, let's be honest, let's be very brutally honest, two absolute fluffers. Because, oh my goodness me, Magnussen needs to go needs to leave Formula One now. I have had enough of this. This is just silly. Absolutely, I'm absolutely out of words with Kevin Magnussen. I mean, Kevin, how about did you not realise you actually might have pushed Perez into the wall? And of course, oh yes, the incident between Gasly and Ocon is under investigation. I'm not surprised Hamilton is complaining yet, but when is Hamilton ever not complaining? Like, that guy will moan about, I don't know, pigeons landing on his garden. He will moan about how the bin men arrived 90 seconds after they said they would be coming. He will complain about the fact that the tyre pressures are getting too low. He will complain about the fact that the weather is a bit chilly today compared to what it's been for the past 15 odd days. Like, I mean, this guy is the absolute king of the mother and father of Karens. That's all I'm going to say. Although I have to say, though, Max Verstappen loves a good mode as well. So let's not, we're going to be even on that front. I'm sorry. What on earth was Esteban Ocon thinking when he decided to try and overtake Pierre Gasly at the start? Like, it's your teammate. Like, are you actually focused on helping your team score as many points as possible, or are you just out there to show I'm the better driver than everyone? Because yeah, Esteban Ocon can be quite good on his day, but the fact of the matter is, there's no way in hell a team like Mercedes or Red Bull will want to pull with his BS because they've got a team planned to execute beyond the driver like Esteban Ocon. And I know Ocon goes on about how he beat Max Verstappen to the 2014 Formula 3 championship, but you got to realise he was already a year older than Max at that point. So, I mean, essentially, he was already a year ahead in terms of his development road to Formula 1. Oh my god, seriously, are we having an argument about whether Hamilton really deserves to be a 7-time champion? I mean, well, all I can say is that you take the opportunities that are available to you. That is literally the whole point of Formula One. That you need everything to go right: the car, the team, the strategy, your own driving performance. Everything needs to come together, and of course, you have to hope that the governing body gives you the right decisions on controversial calls, and the fact that, and of course, reliability. I mean, there's no point arguing about who deserves what in this sport because we all know that Formula One championships are gifted to you, especially if you drove for Williams in the mid-90s when, of course, David Hill and Jacques Villeneuve basically became champions by proxy due to having none other than Adrian Newey as their car designer. I mean, we're talking about how many titles or skill level a certain driver would deserve. I would put a case forward to say that someone like Sterling Moss deserves 2 championships. Jim Clark deserves 5 championships. Adam Prost arguably deserves at least 5 or 6 championships. Although, of course, some Ayrton fans, some Ayrton Senna fans are probably going to tell us they deserve 7 championships, so we could go on all day long about this conversation. Erase Monaco from the F1 calendar. Well, that's a controversial one, isn't it? Because, of course, this place is, as you all know, very popular with the sponsors. And, of course, a lot of the teams out here are signing new corporate deals for the rest of the season and next year, of course. Mercedes had by far the best car in 2017. Yeah, absolutely. That is so true, Will. And we also have to realise they also had the most reliable car as well, since, of course, Ferrari's engine problems at Malaysia and Japan reared its ugly head and destroyed Vettel's championship, in spite of what happened at the start at Singapore, which I have to say was more or less a racing incident, even though I think a lot of you will be well aware that I put the blame firmly on Vettel after that. And of course, yet, because the final coming out, the formation lap is underway, you are correct. The car, I can see the car circulating on the track map. And Ocon is out. What's happened to Ocon? Has he... Wait, Ocon is still in the pits. Has he got well, it looks like the damage he incurred to his car after that collision with Gasly has left him stranded inside the pit lane. And well, I suppose some of you could say that's karma for what he tried to do at Gasly at the start of the race. What an imbecile! Like, oh my word! I mean, this sort of driving is the sort of stuff that not even someone like Romeo Grosjean would attempt to do on a teammate. Like, even Roman Grosjean would know better than to try and overtake his teammate into turn 1 at Monaco of all fecking places. Yeah, I absolutely agree with, what's it, Ferrari's general performance throughout 2017. Like, you've got to realise they had a car that was only good around the slow, tight tracks because, of course, it had the shortest wheelbase that year, meaning that, of course, the tight, twisty tracks were very much in Ferrari's favour. And of course, Kimi was actually quick around those tracks. So that should tell you a lot about what the strengths and weaknesses of the Ferrari F70H was that year. And yeah, Ocon, yeah, I can see it now. Ocon is out. Oh, what an absolute moron, eh? Well, that's none of my problem. If you want to go and drive around like that, Mr. Esteban, you're free to do so, because as far as I'm concerned, you are never going to get a seat at top team. You can wave goodbye to that stuff. And of course, yeah, the race is underway. I beg your pardon, as of course Alonso has jumped Ricciardo and Bottas has jumped Sargeant. And yeah, that was a pretty clean getaway. Not very eventful, if we have to say. And yeah, I mean, I think we're going to have to try and keep ourselves entertained for the rest of the race, because unfortunately, I don't think there's going to be many pit stops from here on out, unless, of course, we get another safety car. And everything is going to plan for Charles Leclerc Ferrari, who, of course, Charles Leclerc, he hasn't won a race for nearly 2 years now, since, of course, the 2022 Austrian Grand Prix. That, my friends, is a ridiculously long time to be not winning a race in Formula One, especially when you drive for a grand old team like Ferrari. And as it stands, yeah, Gasly could be scoring his first point of the season, but since, of course, Williams are also on course with their first point of the season, with Albon in second place, in ninth place, I beg your pardon, with 2 points available. Thanks to countback, I think Williams will be jumping up to 7th place in the championships due to, of course, the fact that their best finish of the year is going to be 9th place, whilst, of course, Alpine's best finish, if as things stand, is only 10th. Steak might get a point. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that word. Maybe. Bottas is down in 14th place. Maybe if, I don't know, Tsunoda, Albon collide together, then possibly Stroll, Alonso, and Ricciardo get into some sort of incident. It could happen. You never know, folks. It could. Stranger things have happened in F1. What the hell is that? Look at that. 1 minute 22s. My God, that's some horrifically slow lap times, by the way. Yeah, I mean, the two Mercedes and Max are going to have are going to be under threat from Tsunoda and Albon if they can't pick up their pace. That's all I'm going to say, because for those three drivers, they are going to need to pull out a 25-second gap over Yuki's RB and, of course, Albon's Williams if they want to keep hold of 5th, 6th, and 7th places today. Whilst Ricciardo could potentially get a point here if Gasly, Stroll, and Alonso don't make use of their medium tyres. And for those of you saying that Zhou has a chance, Sauber could score a point, well, Zhou Guanyu is on hard tyres, so maybe, just maybe, he might do the job today, although I have to say he would probably need to get past Logan Sargeant in order to make that work, because we all know how slow Sargeant is. But unfortunately, around a track like Monaco, he's going to actually have to try and make an overtake. And on lap 6, although I have to say it feels like... I mean, let's be honest, the people in the first 4 positions, the 2 Ferraris and the 2 McLarens, I mean, they don't have that much to worry about because, of course, the hard tyres, I think, should easily last the full 78, 76 laps that they're going to be doing. And, of course, even if a safety car comes out, they can afford to just stay out there and not make a pit stop. It's pretty much gone to plan for Ferrari and McLaren today. And unfortunately, we're not going to see too much of a fight for the race win unless, of course, a mechanical issue occurs for one of the top 4 cars. Oh, really? I'm looking at the battle for 5th place downwards. And, of course, yes, Sainz and Piastri collision noted. Of course, I would not put those 2 under investigation because I think that was just a racing incident. It was just one of those things, to be honest. Although it has to be said, though, had the big collision between Hulkenberg, Perez, and Magnussen not occurred, I think Ferrari would definitely be protesting McLaren right now. So that was very lucky, I have to say, for Piastri, who would be in much bigger trouble had the big collision towards the back had not occurred. And would you look at that? 1 minute 21.1 there for Charles Leclerc in the fastest lap charts. Charles Leclerc is getting a move on. Now it's a 1 minute 20.9 for the Ferrari driver, but Piastri's gone faster with a 1 minute 20.8. Of course, it's a shame that we had a red flag because, of course, I think if this was a normal race, we would be having quite an interesting race on our hands between Leclerc and Piastri. As it stands, yeah, Perez will be down to 5th place in the driver's standings, and that is definitely one to look out for because this seat is definitely now under threat. There is no way he's got a comfortable position here. Well, yeah, but you've got to realise, of course, Max Verstappen and the two Mercedes have got to try and make these medium tyres last. And, of course, as you can see on the lap charts, they're doing 1 minute 21.4 between the three of them. And Verstappen, being stuck in that pack, cannot close in on the top 4 up ahead, meaning that it is now 9 seconds between himself and Leclerc. And I have to say this, since I think Verstappen and the two Mercedes going to have to make a pit stop, we can pretty much say goodbye to his chances of winning, unless, of course, we get some huge incident coming up ahead. I mean, Nelson Piquet once said that driving around Monaco is like riding a bicycle in your bathroom, so... Sargeant didn't change his tyres. I don't know what Sargeant is doing. He's just there for banter at this point. And look at that gap. 8 seconds between Leclerc and Russell. The two Mercedes are seriously struggling for race pace, despite the fact they are on the quicker medium tyres compared to, of course, the Ferraris and the McLarens are on the hard tyres. And so, oh yeah, and look at that gap. I mean, Gasly is actually putting away from the two Aston Martins. I mean, Aston Martin's season is going to pot as we watch. And Alonso, Jesus Christ, Alonso is struggling to keep Ricciardo behind him. Can't say it. I mean, Aston Martin really need to wake up now. They really need to sort out their car because this is really some terrible performances coming out of them. Of course, as you know, you can't overtake around here, so it is pretty relative to... I mean, it's pretty easy to sit and say, you know, Williams and Alpine have made a huge jump in performance, but of course, with the lack of overtaking opportunities and the fact that this tight and twisted track clearly suits their cars way more than the faster circuits compared to like Imola and Miami, we have to be very, 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 very careful what we say, to be honest. No further investigation for Piastri and Sainz. Yeah, I said it already. Like, what's the point of investigating that incident? I have to say this on pure pace alone. Mercedes and Verstappen don't have the pace to compete today. They just don't. And it's 2 seconds in between Russell and Verstappen. Like, my God, Verstappen is literally only 0.2 of a second quicker than the two Mercs. I mean, that is nowhere near enough for Verstappen to be competing for the race win today, let alone get on the podium. And would you look at that? Tsunoda, 1 minute 20.5. And yet, Ocon has been ruled at fault for his first lap collision, which... So, with that collision, I mean, the time penalty might well be converted to a grid penalty for Canada, which is hilarious to think about because, you know, he was the one who started behind Gasly, and really, you should be the one responsible for whatever collisions you may have because you're the one who can see the car braking in front of you. I mean, of course, I've just seen the lap times. Gasly doing a 1 minute 23.94. He's going quicker than the two Mercedes, and he's going quicker than the cars in front of him. But of course, we have to remember Gasly is on the medium tyres, so that is to be expected. But the fact he's going quicker than the two Mercedes is quite impressive, you've got to say. It's just unfortunate Alpine just don't have the qualifying speed. At least Mercedes are making progress, yeah, but dude, come on, man. They're very much in a lonely fourth place in the championship, I beg your pardon. I know it has to be said, though, a lot of the runners around the back are also doing 1 minute 21.5, so it's actually pretty close in terms of race pace early on. I mean, of course, you have to remember there is not going to be too much tyre degradation around a slow track like Monaco. Because, you know, you look at the lap times of Bottas, Zhou, and Stroll, and they're all pretty quick. 1 minute 21.5 for also Ricciardo, and Alonso took a 21.4. Although he has to be said, though, I mean, the lap times are definitely tumbling for the front runners with both Sainz and Norris now in the 19.9s. If you can see across there. But it has to be said, though, the top four are very much maintaining a huge gap between themselves and Russell, who is in 5th place, who is now almost 7 seconds behind Norris. It's got to be said. I mean, yes, I know Russell has now improved to a 20.3, and Sainz and Max has improved to a 20.6, but that's still nowhere near quick enough for them to keep up with the top four. I don't know what the front runners are going to do towards the end of the race if the hard tyres start deteriorating. I mean, we're going to see around 50 or 60 laps time, like how are the tyres feeling by that point. The medium runners are definitely going to have to pay. There's no way the likes of Mercedes and Max can make these tyres last. And it has to be said, their pace on these medium tyres is really poor, really not good. Although, of course, I mean, of course, you can argue they're unlucky because, of course, of the red flag, giving a chance for everyone to change tyres. But with the heavy fuel load, those medium tyres are definitely being rubbed off a lot more quickly than they normally would on a lower fuel load. Those tyres are deteriorating a lot quicker than usual. And I've got to say, Tsunoda, 1 minute 20.6 was Gasly Gasly hasn't improved any of his lap times. He's stuck doing a 21.5, and Albon's just done a 21.4. So I think Tsunoda is going to begin to pull away from those two. Whilst, of course, the two Aston Martins are now beginning to slowly improve a little bit in lap times, with Stroll doing a 21.3. And look at that. Sainz, 19.4. Norris, 19.3. Fastest lap of the race. Whilst Verstappen is finally getting on with it with a 19.7. And soon, if he carries on like this, he'll be closing upon Russell. And Gasly's just done a 19.9. And it looks like both Leclerc and Piastri are taking it easy for a bit because, of course, I do wonder what they will try and do. Like, will they try and pit as late as possible? Whilst, of course, the likes of Sainz and Norris will be going for a slightly earlier pit stop and try and do the undercut on those two. And, yeah, 2-second gap in between Hamilton and Tsunoda and a 3-second gap between him and Max in front. And Alonso is falling back behind. It looks like Alonso is allowing Stroll to get away from him, and he's now holding up Ricciardo, Bottas, Sargeant, and Zhou behind him. Doing the same tricks again, the old dog, Fernando Alonso. It looks like he's doing his old tricks of backing off and then going and then smashing in fastest lap once he can build a gap between himself and Stroll. I mean, after all, I mean, you can't overtake here, so why not? And I mean, let's face it, he's not in a point scoring position, so I actually don't blame Alonso. Although, of course, I know Ricciardo will be absolutely irritated more than anyone else to be held up behind him. And Bottas has just gone for a pit stop. Yeah, I've just seen it. He's gone on all tyres. 16 laps into the race, Bottas has decided to dump his medium tyres and he wants to, and I presume he will be going to the end on these hard tyres on a monster 62 lap stint coming up for the Finnish driver. And I think watching Bottas' lap time will be one of very, very much huge interest because, of course, I think if he can go quickly on these hard tyres, then I think a lot of the medium runners such as Russell, Verstappen and Hamilton will follow him, and possibly even Gasly. Although, of course, it has to be said, Gasly is in a battle with the two Aston Martins for that final point-scoring spot, so that is going to be a key strategy battle for the Alpine team, who desperately need these points. And would you look at that? Piastri has done, Norris has done a 19.6. The lap times are tumbling on these hard tyres, amazingly enough, whilst Russell has just set his own personal best of a 19.9. But that is still not quicker than what the four in front of him are doing. Oh, sorry about that light. Verstappen and Verstappen and Lewis, on the other hand, are still struggling to get below the 20.2s. And Russell is obviously now building a little gap ahead of those two. While Tsunoda is definitely now falling back. Bottas will be ahead of Gasly if Gasly pits now. Oh, yeah. That is worrying. I am really worried. Oh, and look at that. A 1 minute 16.5 for Bottas. 16.5 for Bottas. I didn't see that coming. Bottas has just gone 3 seconds faster than Lewis Hamilton. And of course, it's almost 3 seconds faster than Norris's fastest lap. Look at that, folks. Yep, you just confirmed it there, Brooksford. A 16.5 on these new hard tyres. My blimey, course, say these hard tyres are much better than the medium compounds today. I think that is absolute 100% proof. And look at that. Bottas only 7.5 seconds behind his teammate Zhou. Only 8 laps on these hard tyres, and oh my god, he's flying, folks. He's flying. And now he's just 6 seconds behind Zhou. My word. Where did that lap come from? I think there's going to be a few team engineers are going to be sitting there scratching their heads thinking, what shall we do with these tyres? Because these are, I mean, I think a lot of the medium runners like Russell, Verstappen and Hamilton are going to be playing a bit of high-speed poker with each other because I think, is it going to be track precision that they want, or do they want to try and make up lap time? Because, although, of course, we have to realise if those three pit, then they're going to be, well, they're going to actually both drop behind around Sargeant and Zhou, so I don't think any of those three are going to pit just yet. I think we're going to have to wait for at least 10 or 20 laps for the Mercedes and Max to consider pitting. But yeah, I think we're going to have to wait until around lap 35 for Mercedes and Verstappen to pit. And I think there's going to be a bit of poker involved between those two because it's going to be either a case of 1, track position, or 2, lap time. So, for those of you wondering, yes, Leclerc and Piastri are leading the race, and they're on hard tyres ahead of their teammates Sainz and Norris, who are also on hard. But Russell, Verstappen, and Hamilton are currently using the medium tyres, whilst Bottas has just switched to a new set of hard tyres and set the fastest lap of 1 minute 16.5, and he is lapping consistently at least 2 to 3 seconds faster than the cars in front of him. And he is now just 1.5 seconds ahead of behind Zhou. He is he is absolutely making up ground here. And I think Zhou is going to be giving team orders in the next 2 laps. He's got to let Bottas pass. Bottas is so much quicker than Zhou right now. And I think Bottas will be forced to obey because, yeah, Zhou, mate, your teammate is just flying right now. You never know, folks. You never know. I mean, but I think it's certain that it's either going to be a Ferrari or a McLaren winning today. I think the two Red Bull, the two Mercedes and Verstappen are just a bit too far behind already, if I'm going to be honest. Especially when you consider they're on the medium tyres. This race has definitely gone wrong for those three. Although it has to be said, though, Bottas has now slowed down to a 1 minute 19.1. So, yeah, a lot of strategic tyre management going on there. And I think, obviously, Bottas has now slowed back down into a pattern. Gotta say, that was actually quite exciting looking at Bottas' lap tyres for a few laps. Because, unfortunately, I think he's now just going to back off and manage his tyres. But it has to be said, though, in 20 laps' time, I am certain Russell and Verstappen and Hamilton will pit. Like, once they build a gap between themselves and probably the likes of Gasly, Stroll, Alonso, and so on, they will take advantage of it and try and pit. And it will be between themselves and Tsunoda and Albon in terms of who will blink first in the pit stops. And yes, Alonso, I think we all know, is strategically slowing down so they can build a gap between himself and Stroll and go for a few fast laps himself. would you look at that, folks? Leclerc at 18.6, Piastri at 18.5. The lap times are tumbling for the big top four in front. Sainz 18.8, Norris 18.9. Okay, yes, I know the fastest lap is a 16.5 from, of course, not other than Valtteri Bottas, who literally went crazy when he came out of his pit stop. But yeah. Sauber not doing team orders, yeah, but I think that's because of the fact Sargeant is so close up ahead. Like, I mean, if Bottas gets past Zhou, he's just going to be stuck behind Sargeant, so it's kind of a waste of Bottas's new hot tyres. Hence why I think Bottas has now decided to back off. It's a bit pointless for any team orders, to be honest. And I think Bottas, yeah. I think all Bottas is doing is waiting for like the 5 cars in front of him to pit, because that's the only reasonable thing he can do, to be honest. But it has to be said, we've just seen it right there. The hard tyres are definitely working a lot better than the mediums. Much better. Oh, you think? Oh, well. Oh, I think there's a bit of disagreement there in terms of the team orders. Have they actually confirmed team orders, say? Because I would like a confirmation from somewhere. Logan Sargeant can finish 13th. Well, I mean, that doesn't mean anything, to be honest. That's another race without point for Logan. I just said it's been a few laps and we've not swapped yet, but that's because Bottas will be stuck behind Sargeant if he did get past Zhou, so what's the point, really? And of course, you've got to realise they're all stuck in the Alonso train, so not much to do, not much Sauber can do, I'm afraid. I mean, as long as Alonso continues doing the lap times he's doing, they are screwed. I mean, it's more tactical blocking yet again by Alonso. Daniel Ricciardo, well, Yeah, but you've got to realise if Alonso was... The problem with Alonso is that he's got his teammate in front of him so freely. I mean, essentially, he's not going to be able to influence the race as much if he just stays right behind his teammate. So he might as well try to disturb the cars behind him. I know it's kind of unethical when you think about it, but it's Fernando Alonso we're talking about. So why should we be surprised anymore? Yeah. And of course, Sainz has just done a new personal best of an 18.0. Of course, technically, I see it as being the fastest lap of the race since, of course, Bottas's 16.5 was only done because of the fact he was in clean air. Look at that. Would you look at that? It's an 18.3 for the race leader, Charles Leclerc. And at this point in time, I think this is surely going to be a Charles Leclerc victory because he has dictated the pace pretty well at the front. He's looked after his tyres very well. He has not panicked under any sort of like radio messages that he's been given in the past 28 laps. And the Mercedes and Max Verstappen are not really closing the gap at all. They've just fallen away to now over... Oh, wow. Russell is now nearly 19 seconds behind Leclerc, and both Max and Lewis are just simply not keeping up the pace today. Wait, hang on a minute. Albon and Gasly just had a collision. Like, wait. Yeah, but there's a 3-second gap between Albon and Gasly. Like, what happened there? Because, I mean, Ocon has just retired. Like, did Albon and Gasly just had a collision somewhere a few laps ago? And, well, I think Albon has now done a new personal best of a 19.5, but I've got to say the lap times for the runners behind Hamilton have definitely dropped off horribly. And it looks like everyone from Tsunoda downwards are all too busy holding each other up to be able to do anything. And look at that gap between Stroll and Alonso. It's now 8 seconds. And I have to say this, Alonso is definitely now deliberately destroying a lot of drivers' races behind him because, of course, he wants to try and possibly gain some points for his team today. Just so we know, it is 48 laps to go. Of course, there may be a couple of pit stops coming up soon. I will be back in a second as I'll get some noodles. Hamilton and Max just don't have the pace, and Norris almost slides into the wall. Oh, Alonso train, he misses that teammate that won the race here 20 years ago. Yes. How can we forget the great Jarno Trulli? And look at that, a new fastest lap there for Max Verstappen of an 18.5. Although it has to be said, I mean, I think Bottas has already destroyed his hard tyres after his blindingly quick stint where he set a new fastest lap of a 16.5. Yeah, Max is just, I think Max is checked out, to be honest. Like, what can he do? He's stuck in the Russell train. While Tsunoda is now 42 seconds behind Leclerc. So, yeah, I mean, everyone in the bottom 9 places are fighting for the places outside the top 7. There's only really 3-point scoring positions available for those right at the back today. With, of course, Perez getting clogged out in that monster crash earlier on. And, yeah, Hamilton has been pretty awful around Monaco since 2017. I mean, yeah, I know he won here in 2019, but, of course, we all know he did that monstrous stint holding everyone up, including Vettel and so on, and Max. Yeah, but right now, Red Bull are lacking speed in their car. I mean, you have to realise yesterday Max could only qualify 6th, which is going to be one of the worst, probably the worst qualifying performance we've seen from him since Singapore last year. Mind you, of course, Max has never won the Singaporean Grand Prix, so maybe Max Verstappen doesn't like the street tracks as much as we think he does. I mean, he didn't win at Miami either, so that should tell you something. Yeah, I've said it before. Monaco is a bogey track for Hamilton. This has got to be one of Lewis's worst track on the calendar because, of course, I think a lot of the tight corners here doesn't really suit his driving style whatsoever. I mean, it is a well-known fact that Rosberg did not quite often outperform Hamilton around this racetrack. But of course, we have to remember 2015 was a case of a strategy mistake being made on Mercedes' part to pit Hamilton, drawing, what was it, a virtual safety car, when of course he was leading the race by at least 25 seconds over Rosberg before the safety car appeared, or the VSC, I can't remember, but Hamilton was furious that day. So it's basically 2021 with the top 4 teams in reverse. Funnily enough, yeah, you're right. I think who won in... Oh, yeah, Max won in 2021. Oh, of course, what was it? Hamilton, I think, had only finished like 5th or 6th that day, since, of course, Mercedes had a terrible car at that track that day, just like here, to be honest. And that's a new pair of fastest lap for Tsunoda and Albon at 19.1. It looks like Gasly's medium tyres are now really beginning to deteriorate, and that is a bit worrying because I honestly don't know what he can do now in terms of strategy, and he's now 7.5 seconds slower than Albon. And as for Ricciardo's performance at Monaco 3 years ago, I mean, he got lapped by Norris and he finished behind Kimi. absolutely unbelievable. Kimi and Giovinazzi beat him, and Giovinazzi scored a point in... Oh, what's going on here? Apparently, I found a message that's been given to me, but it's been held for review. Oh, yeah. By the way, Will, please do not swear in the comments. Please do not use swear words in the comments. I really don't want you to be, like, dropping F-bombs and stuff like that. Because, of course, YouTube are very sensitive to those sort of messages, okay? Thank you for heeding my warning. And if there's a new personal best for Albon with an 18.8, and Tsunoda has done an 18.9 in response. The battle for 8th place is hotting up between the RB and the Williams. And would you look at that? Alonso is nearly 10 seconds behind Stroll. Oh my, I think Alonso is trying to get some of the cars behind him lapped. That is some very tactical thinking there by Fernando Alonso. And as you can see on the timing chart, there is now only 70 minutes of this race remaining. Although, of course, I think we will be able to finish it within the time limit for today's race. Tsunoda, Russell is 16 seconds behind Norris. Tsunoda is 21 behind Hamilton, and Alonso is 10 behind his own teammate. So, and Alonso just went nearly 2 seconds slower on the previous lap. I mean, I really do hope Alonso's tactical driving is going to work out, because otherwise this will be all for nothing. And Hamilton, I think Perez has just done a personal best of an 18.6. Of course, oh, and Sainz has just done a 17.5, and a Norris a 17.9. So the gap between the top four is still extremely close, and we're almost 40 laps into the race. And yet, astonishingly, and now, of course, with a huge 22 gap between Hamilton and Tsunoda, I mean, surely Russell, Verstappen, and Hamilton surely must be considering a pit stop. Although, of course, we have to remember they are trying to cover each other off right now. Having said that, Russell's now done a personal best of an 18.4, so I think these medium tyres are now very much coming into the road, as, of course, the fuel load is now beginning to burn off. Dude, I don't honestly know who's the better driver between Sargeant and Latifi. All I'm saying is that Sargeant is about 5 years younger than Latifi, and of course he started his career at the age of just 22 compared to, of course, Latifi, who came to Formula 1 when he was 25 years old. So what I'm saying is Sargeant has more potential to improve compared to someone like Latifi. Yeah, I definitely believe Alonso is very much strategically driving slowly because let's face it, I mean, this is probably Aston Martin's best hope of scoring points today, which is backing the pack up, really. Kind of a bit like Kevin Magnussen backing the pack up for Hulkenberg, only of course, Alonso is actually doing it properly compared to what Magnussen usually does. And what it really can be said due to the nature of the track is that it really is a case of high-speed poker or high-speed chess, if you will, because with the lack of actual any real overtaking opportunities around anywhere on this track with the 2 meter wide cars, I mean, it really is a case of us wondering when the drivers are going to pit. Ocon, look, you've got to realise Ocon is still in Formula 1 because he is a relatively decent midfield driver, but of course, stupid incidents like he just got involved in earlier on is proof of why a top team refuses to go near him because he's not a team player. He will try and fight his teammate to the near death, even if it yields zero results. We only have to look at his performances alongside Alonso 2 years ago to realise what he did at Saudi and Brazil and Hungary to realise the guy is an arsehole. I would actually go one further than that, Kiefer, and say this. Sergio Perez honestly should leave Formula 1 because I don't really see his motivation being there, to be honest, at this point, and I don't know what he would do when in a midfield team after having spent like a decade in the midfield before joining Red Bull. And as you can see, Ricciardo, Sargeant, Zhou, and Bottas have all been lapped. And it is interesting to see what Alonso is going to do now because, of course, he's slowed down to the point he's got the back 4 cars lapped. I mean, is he going to start speeding up because he's now got a huge 16-second buffer between himself and his teammate? And if he doesn't speed up, then he'll be getting lapped. So, of course, as you can see, the front runners are doing, yep, he's been lapped. So that means that Stroll is the last remaining, is the final remaining corner lead. It's the last remaining corner lead lap. I beg your pardon. I mean, look, I know we're talking about drivers who could well be getting kicked out of the sport soon, but you got to realise the likes of Ricciardo and Bottas are being kicked off for one thing and one thing alone: experience. That's it. Experience. Jesus Christ, that's about Ocon. I mean, Ocon can come out here, talk about how he's going to go and drive a Mercedes, how he still thinks he's one of the hottest prospects on the grid. Dude, you're nearly 28 years old. Like, in about, what's it, 4 months' time, you're going to turn 28 years old. Like, you don't see Pierre Gasly talking about being a hot prospect because, I mean, he's already 28 years old himself. I mean, if there is one thing that if Stroll scores points today, I mean, he can definitely thank his teammate Alonso for getting all the cars behind himself getting lapped because, of course, and yeah, Lance Stroll is pitting, so unfortunately, that means that Lance Stroll, I think, is now going to go a lap down himself. So I'm beginning to wonder, I mean, will Alonso come to regret holding everyone up? Because, wait, did everyone pit? I'm trying to wonder, did everyone behind him? Well, I'm not sure now, but yeah, Stroll has pitted. I mean, Alonso apparently has 1 minute 23.3. Sorry, I was just looking at Alonso's lap time at 23.3 from Alonso. Like, how much is he trying to hold people up now? I mean, that's getting a bit too silly there. And yes, Stroll has also got a lap down, so I mean, it really does depend on what. I mean, of course, that will give him plenty of clear air in front of him, of course. Of course, it all depends on how long Tsunoda, Albon, and Gasly are going to stay out on their tyres. And of course, Tsunoda and Albon are on the medium tyres, and I think Gasly is still on the hard tyres, of course. So that's going to be a fairly interesting battle. Was, of course, Russell, Verstappen, and Hamilton remain 14 seconds adrift off the top four. And it's a 17.8 for the race leader, Leclerc. And it has to be said, I mean, Russell, Verstappen, and Hamilton have been consistently at least half a second slower than the top four guys. And really, frankly, I mean, they've shown absolutely nothing to show that they are worthy of finishing on the podium today. And frankly, I can't feel sorry for those three. And as it stands, it's going to be another, well, both Aston Martins might not be scoring points this weekend and this season. I have to say this. On a weekend where, of course, RB will be on course to score 4 points for Tsunoda. So the battle for P5 is slowly beginning to hot up slightly because, of course, I mean, Aston Martin are really beginning to lose their grip on that P5 and the constructors. And just so we're aware, yes, Stroll and Bottas are the two only drivers who have pitted, and we are now 45 laps into the race. And if Gasly doesn't get a move on, he's going to be getting lapped in a few laps' time. So come on, Gasly, get on with this. I don't want to see you go a lap down. And look at that. I mean, Ricciardo has done a new fastest lap of an 18.0. 18.5 for Stroll and 18.8 for Alonso. So yeah, yeah, I've got to say this track position has definitely cost Aston Martin today. Although to be honest, it's not like they've been that super quick anyway. Alonso suddenly 4.5 seconds faster, yeah, but well, I mean, it's a case of too little, too late, isn't it? And of course, well, I mean, Alonso is now only 3 seconds behind his teammate who's just made a pit stop. So I mean, Alonso, I do wonder what is he going to try and do because of course he does have the likes of Ricciardo, Sargeant, and Zhou and Bottas very close behind him. I mean, I don't really know what. I mean, Alonso, I think this is basically another wasted weekend for Alonso because beaten by his teammate again, struggling for consistency and tyre performance, struggling with the brakes, and struggling with all-round car performance. I mean, yes, I know Alonso does now have more of these sort of dry spells on a more regular basis now that he's in his 40s, but he's definitely not going to be happy with this. Yeah, but I did say, Kiefer, that if Bottas had been allowed to go past Zhou, he'd be getting stuck in behind Sargeant. Like, there'd be no, I don't think he'd be able to overtake Sargeant. So it is just basically, it was more of a case of Sauber experimenting to see which tyres would work fastest, since, of course, they are just simply right at the back. I mean, I think as it stands, I mean, its lap time of a 1 minute 16.5 is still the fastest lap of the race, which was about a second faster than what Sainz did later on. Who, mind you, of course, is on the hard tyres of Leclerc, Piastri, and Sainz and Norris is all at least somewhere between 45 laps and 47 laps old now, whilst Bottas's hard tyres are 31 laps old. Stroll, on the other hand, his hard tyres are 6 laps old, so, and it's an 18.2 for Stroll. Stroll is absolutely cracking on with it now. He's gone 7/10 of a second quicker than Stroll, and Ricciardo's just done a 17.1. Blimey, I mean, track position is definitely making a difference today. I'll tell you that. I know I've said that about 27 times, but yeah, this is Monaco, folks. I think, obviously, only a safety car can really trigger up the order here, and of course, we are pretty much waiting for the top 4 and the 3 cars behind them to actually pit to see how this pans out, but I think it's pretty safe to say the top 7 will pretty much finish in the top 7, since, of course, there is now a 40-second gap between Hamilton and Tsunoda. I've got to say it. Those three drivers, Tsunoda and Albon and Gasly, performing exceptionally yesterday's qualifying session, has definitely bagged them points, because, of course, I think the car drivers in behind them have got faster cars, but if you don't get the job done in qualifying at Monaco, then really you've only got yourself to blame. And, yeah, Alonso, I think, could obviously be in the points if he actually qualified better. And it's an 18.0 for Stroll. My lord, those lap times are falling for the 25-year-old Canadian driver. And as I can see on the track map, I think Gasly is now about 1 straight away from being lapped by Leclerc. He's now 73 seconds behind the race leader. So yeah, I think it's an inevitability that, of course, the Tsunoda, Albon, and Gasly are getting lapped, or aka the tag team, as I like to call them, since, of course, their initials are T, A, and G. Haas apparently decided to start last because they have a rear wing size extension, which backfired because they got... Wait, they had an extension to the rear wing, and that caused them to get involved in a crash. That's an odd one. I don't know what to say about that. I mean, it's the Haas's attempt to add more downforce to their car, because, I mean... And Stroll has pitted again. Stroll, oh, he's got a puncher and he's crashed. Bonkers stuff here, folks. Oh dear, Lance Stroll's day. Yeah, I said it earlier on. Fernando Alonso would come to regret holding up all those cars to help his teammates out, because when your teammate is Lance Stroll, you can't ever really rely upon him to be consistent, ever. And would you look at that? Oh wow, Hamilton's just gone fastest with a 1 minute 17.4. Oh dear. Alonso is going to be kicking himself. I can guarantee you that. Alonso is just going to be like, that's all my hard work of holding up all those slow cars in behind me, just for Lance Stroll to pin it. Unbelievable, boys. And of course, Lance Stroll has now come out with a brand new set of soft tyres. I mean, what a waste of time, eh? That kid will never learn. And what have I missed? Haas are to blame for their rear wing extension, which love to see Fernando's face as he blew past. Oh, Hamilton's pitted. Let me just read the comments. Sorry, I just went out for a moment. The stricken Aston. Fernando's face, yeah, but Fernando literally lost at least 20 seconds just so that his teammate could have a buffer, only for his teammate to go and crash. I mean, I'm sorry, but I don't think Alonso can be that happy because, I mean, if Stroll was going to go and pull a stunt like that, I mean, he might as well have just told Stroll to do team orders earlier on with him and Alonso, because can anyone really trust Stroll to ever have 2 or 3 clean weekends in a row? No. And Bottas, yeah, he's up to 13th place. And oh yeah, they finally did team orders at Sauber. Unbelievable. And he actually got past Sargeant. I should have really done that at least 20 or 30 laps ago, to be honest. So I don't know what on earth Sargeant and Sauber are playing at. And yeah, Gasly's been overtaken. There's a yellow flag. Hold on, what happened there? Well, I mean, look at that. Max Verstappen is now just half a second behind Russell, and he's come out of has he gone and pitted? Why is there an outside next to his name? Is that... Oh, yeah, he's pitted, yeah. I mean, oh, yeah, Max has pitted. And I think Hamilton has surely pitted as well. Yeah, they're both on the hard tyres. And, yeah, Russell has now got to get a crack on, because if he doesn't get a crack on, he's gonna be overtaken by Hamilton and Verstappen in terms of net track position if he doesn't build a gap now. It's up to George Russell to show that he is now the #1 driver at Mercedes. And would you look at that? Lance Stroll has done a 1 minute 16.9, but as I was coming to think of it, you know, I was thinking about an old meme that I used to watch on Jackass, the MTV clown show or comedy show, as they used to call it back in the day, where they visited a place called My Anus in America, spelled MIANUS. You know, think about it. You know, there's a camel in my anus. There's a cheese grater in my anus. There's Lance Stroll in my anus. That is literally what Lance Stroll has become. But the guy, I refuse to take this guy seriously. He is a living personification of the Homer Simpson meme, where he's like walking around town with a bell ringing in his hands with the sign saying, "The end is near." Because frankly, whenever Lance Stroll does anything well, that's what I think of, because the guy cannot keep it. The guy struggles to keep all 4 tyres within the 2 white lines. It's unbelievable. And Hamilton has just done the fastest lap of the whole race, a 16.45. Oh, he's flying on these new medium tyres, I'll tell you that. Hamilton is flying today. Although, of course, I'm pretty sure you'll be exasperatingly infuriated having had to start the mediums and then had to switch on the hard tyres after the red flag incident. And Verstappen has just cracked on with it, and he's responded with a 15.8. These flat tyres are tumbling now. They are tumbling. Although, of course, unfortunately, both of them are way too far behind the top 4 to really make use of their new tyres, I'm afraid, because, of course, that long stint they had to do on the hard tyres, along with, of course, Russell being George Russell, that's just completely ruined it altogether. And as it stands, well, yeah, I mean, Hamilton, yeah, George Russell really is now screwed. He's definitely, well, he's definitely finishing 7th now. Gasly's just done a 19.0. I'm not really, I mean, he's 6 seconds behind Albon. I think it's safe to say the Alpine driver is going to settle for P10 since, of course, Alonso is 17 seconds down the road and has got really no hope of catching Gasly unless, of course, he decides to fit on a new pair of soft tyres, maybe. I mean, that would probably be Alonso's best hope of catching Gasly. It's surely got to fit on a new pair of softs because, I mean, I'm sorry, Alonso, you lost way too much time backing off as much as you did there. And because, to be honest, I think your medium tyres have already gone off. So, I mean, not exactly the best strategic race of Alonso, especially when you take into account that Stroll put pressure on Pierre Gasly by crashing out in the way he did. Hang on a minute, did I lose connection for like the last 5 minutes? That's why oh dear, I didn't realise. No one's been able to get any. I apologise for what happened there. And the Max Verstappen goes, it's a new fastest lap of 15.3, just as I was filibustering there. Look at that gap! Look at that gap on the track map. I mean, what's it? Norris is going through the casino hairpin, whilst Russell is still nowhere near Massenet. Blimey, the gap is what, 24 seconds behind Russell and Norris was, of course, no, Russell and Leclerc, beg your pardon, was, I mean, well, Max Verstappen can already begin to see glimpses of Russell's rear end when you go down the tunnel, straight through the tunnel. And 14.4 for Hamilton. 14.4. These lap times are falling. These lap times are really tumbling now. Would you look at that? Max Verstappen can see brief glimpses of Russell's rear end already. I mean, I think it's pretty safe to say all George Russell can hope for now is a safety car, because otherwise, he's going to finish 7th. Russell is just simply not being quick enough today. And I mean, if Russell is going to be Mercedes' #1 driver next season, then I'm pretty safe to say Mercedes are well and truly screwed. Getting Carlos Sainz is probably going to have to be Mercedes' only option for 2025, because I'm sorry, Russell is not good enough to be team leader. Russell should smash these lap times, yeah, but Russell is really struggling. Yeah, but the thing with Russell is that he's stayed out for what's it, 5 or 6 laps now since, of course, Hamilton and Verstappen pitted, but yet they've caught up. They've been cutting the gap between themselves and Russell so dramatically. I mean, I think when it came out, I think Verstappen was at least 18 seconds behind Russell, but now he's nearly 6. He's almost 6 seconds. He's almost just under 7 seconds behind Russell. So it's a disaster. And that's right. Yeah, Stroll has overtaken Sargeant and Zhou, but frankly, Jesus Christ. I mean, Stroll, mate, you've completely blown it. Zhou and Sargeant really are wasting a seat in Formula 1. I cannot be arsed with those two anymore. Yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say George Russell is probably going to pit really late and go and get soft tyres, to be honest, because, frankly, I mean, he's blown it, to be honest. I mean, I know we commented on about the fact that George Russell picked the fastest lap was sort of odd in what he did at Imola, considering he was in front of Hamilton at the last race. But today, that's probably the only thing he can really do, because, yeah, he's just simply not been being able to maintain these medium tyres particularly well. And the fact is, he's now only just over 4 seconds ahead of Verstappen. Yet, yeah, Verstappen can see Russell's rear end. What is going on here? Another... Yeah, look, Kiefer, I know Haas screwed up, but how on earth could Haas foresee themselves colliding with Perez of all people? Like, it's just one of those things, okay? It's not... Like, there's no need for you to get all angry over your messages. Like, I mean, just so you know, YouTube automatically deleted that message. Like, I'm not going to show it to people. And that's the second message that's been auto-deleted by YouTube's algorithm, just so you know, since, of course, Will F1 Gaming also had a warning. And Hamilton sets another new fastest lap of 14.2, and goodness me, Hamilton is going to be fuming underneath that helmet of his, because, yeah, Mercedes' strategy has just simply gone to zero today. And it has to be said, I mean, Verstappen's fastest lap is over half a second slower than Hamilton, which is absolutely baffling to say the least. But despite all of that, he is now within 2 seconds of George Russell. I mean, yeah, George Russell, mate. And to be honest, I think George Russell is probably going to stay out to try and hold Verstappen up, because that's pretty much all Mercedes can do now. Like, try and hold Max up so that Hamilton can get on the rear end of Max, so Verstappen makes a mistake out of frustration. Whilst eventually, of course, Russell is probably going to stay out until, like, I don't know, lap 74 and then go for the fastest lap. And, oh yeah, sorry, I've been looking at the midfield for too long, and of course, yeah, the gap between Leclerc and Piastri is 2 seconds, whilst, of course, Sainz and Norris have both dropped back to over 7 seconds behind. And Sainz has set a new personal best of a 15.1. Yes, I've already mentioned the fact that Aston Martin have been struggling with upgrades, so it is what it is. Like, I mean, Aston Martin really are their worst enemies right now, and I have got to say it. The moment Alonso signed a new contract, I always had a funny feeling that things would suddenly start going wrong again at Aston Martin, because this is the history of the Fernando Alonso, okay? Like, he always seems to have this bizarre knack where every team he goes to, something always ends up going wrong eventually somewhere down the road. It's the history of Fernando Alonso. Like, do not be surprised at these sort of coincidences. I mean, yes, I know he has a great relationship with the Stroll family, but even when things are going well, something always ends up going wrong anyway, because it's Alonso's career trajectory. What did you look at that? I mean, Alonso has got Ricciardo, Bottas, and his own teammate right behind him, and he's, goodness me, he's still 16 seconds behind Gasly. He's just simply not close the gap at all. And I know we were all joking on about Alonso deliberately slowing down in order to build a buffer between himself and his teammate earlier on, but I think today he's just simply not quick enough. It's just not happening at all.
64 of 78. And now what is going to come into play for this fight between Russell and Verstappen is traffic. First of all, they get through the RB of Tsunoda, who gets nicely out of the way, but Verstappen is really closing up through Massenet. It arcs right through Casino Square. Downhill braking once again for Mirabeau. No way through on that occasion for Verstappen. And this is interesting because the fate of the top four really lying in the hands of George Russell here. Just how long can he hold off charging Max Verstappen? But obviously what we see is just an example of how difficult it is to get past. Even with
Of 14.1 there for Hamilton. Another new fastest lap. Thank you so much there, Ruxford. Oh, and we're making some bold predictions now, aren't we, Kiefer?
Leclerc still leads his pace for Ferrari, 1.7 seconds gap between himself and the McLaren of Aston.
Sorry about that. I'm just listening to the BBC commentary just to see if they've had any updates about anything. Because as it stands, I mean, we are now 13 laps from the end. Tsunoda and Albon have just been lapped. Hamilton goes fastest yet again at 14.1. He is ruthlessly slicing the deficit between himself and Max Verstappen. Oh, yes, and of course, for those of you wondering, there is the Football League Championship playoff final for the final spot in the Premier League next season. Thank you for the update, say Regara. Well, what can you do? Pierre Gasly is stuck at Alpine. I hope he, well, I mean, to be honest, and the saddest thing is there's not really a lot of great alternatives for him, unfortunately. Unless, of course, Mercedes decide to ring him up or something like that. And just so you're wondering, I've just returned from getting a drink from my kitchen. Since, of course, my voice is getting a bit dry from doing the commentary, since I'm not used to doing race watch-alongs. Thank you to everyone who has liked and watching this video. The support is absolutely fantastic. And the gap between Leclerc and Piastri is pretty stable throughout the race, because let's be honest, I don't really feel, I mean, Leclerc is just basically looking after tyres, because, well, what is the incentive for Leclerc to push? There isn't really any at all. And look at that, just 6 tenths between Russell and Verstappen for the fight for P5. Of course, whether Russell will pit, since of course he still hasn't pitted yet, remains to be seen. I'd have to say Russell is actually doing a fairly decent job of hanging on to these medium compounds, but of course, I mean, I'm trying to do the numbers, of course. Of course, as it stands, I think obviously Hamilton's got the fastest lap point. So I think with Hamilton having the fastest lap point, like as it stands, it's 10 points for 5th place, it's 6 points for 7th place, and then plus the fastest lap point, it's 17 points in total. Whilst if Russell was to pit, they would drop down. Hamilton would go to 6th, and Russell would go down to 7th, meaning they would drop down. They would just score 15 points. So no, I don't think we're going to see Russell pit, because I think as long as he can hang on to his track position for the last 11 laps, I think that's job done for Russell, if I'm going to be honest. And he's actually beginning to close in on Norris, who's about 15 seconds ahead. So Russell, I think, is finally beginning to pick the pace up slightly whilst maintaining tyre life. Free Gasly, yeah. Come on, let's start the campaign going. Free Gasly from the tyranny of Alpine and get him a seat at Mercedes so that Russell can actually have some real pressure put on his neck. I apologise for the radio. They've gone to the football for some reason. Okay, I am back from that detour, and yeah, well, obviously being Monaco, the order has not changed since I went for my quick detour back to my radio to turn it off. And Alonso, well, no points for Aston Martin today, especially after, of course, after Lance Stroll crashed into the barriers, having been closing in on Gasly, doing yet another Lance Stroll mistake. I mean, I'm sorry, Lance Stroll. I'm so fed up with you, mate. Of course, if you're wondering what happened to Hulkenberg, Perez, and Magnussen, they all had a huge collision on the first lap after, of course, Perez started 16th due to qualifying 18th in Q1 yesterday, getting knocked out in Q1 for the second consecutive year in a row. The two horses decided to change their rear wings after qualifying. They both started last, and lo and behold, they all got into a mess on the run up to Bastogne, where they all collided and eliminated each other on lap 1. Ocon collided with Gasly for no good reason whatsoever, and after going to the pit lane for repairs during the red flag, they found the damage to his car was too extensive for him to continue. So he also retired after lap 1. And since then, we've had no retirements, and of course, Zhou and Sargeant have now been lapped twice because, well, God, forget about it. I mean, those two can really jog on for all I care. Gasly can go to Williams, yeah, but, you know, do Williams have the resources to run two competitive cars? That is a big question in itself, I'm afraid. I do like the idea of Gasly going to Williams, but you've got to realise it also depends on how well Williams' factory upgrades goes, because, of course, we all know that they are spending a lot of money and resources on improving their facilities. And we have now 8 laps to go since, of course, well, and we've got like 27 minutes remaining of this race left if there is another red flag stoppage or a safety car, which could, of course, see us really push the time limit today, since, of course, I'm trying to think, there's a time limit of about, I think, 3 hours for today's race, since, of course, Monaco being somewhat temperamental at this time of year in terms of its climate. I think, was it 6 o'clock local time is the cut-off point for when Monaco will end the race. Alonso personal best at 17.9, well, but he's still 12 seconds behind Gasly, so I mean, frankly, he's only got himself to blame, frankly, for desperately trying to back the pack up for Stroll to capitalise upon, only of course for Stroll to bid it all like a complete clown that he is. Gasly to Mercedes. Don't tempt me, Kiefer. Don't tempt me into thinking that Gasly's got a chance. You know, you're bringing up that meme of Jim Carrey asking another person, so you're telling me there's a chance? Goodness me, I mean, watching Pierre Gasly really is now giving me flashbacks of watching Kimi Raikkonen's time at Ferrari and Sauber. It's just, damn, it's painful. And as it stands, it's 7 laps to go. Yeah, I think this race is definitely winding down, and I am beginning to run out of topics to talk about, because it is Monaco after all, and a new personal best of a 15.2 for Russell. He's finally picking the pace up slightly. I'll say it, Russell deserves credit because he has managed to make these medium tyres last for so long. Even though it's now going to be what? His tyres are now 70 laps old. What an extraordinary stint Russell has produced today. Got to give him some serious credit, because I know at first I thought, oh no, he's losing lap time, but he's not like slowed down so much that his lap times have dropped off too dramatically. It seems to be as the fuel has burnt off, the more Brussels tyres are coming into life. What is your opinion on Haas signing Zhou and Bottas? Well, getting Bottas would be an excellent idea in terms of replacing Magnussen, who is frankly no longer good enough. As for signing Zhou, though, well, I think we have to realise the whole idea of having a Chinese driver in an American team is just not going to work out from a commercial point of view, and the fact that Zhou is not good enough for any seat in Formula One. Just forget about it. Like, Zhou needs to leave F1 ASAP when his contract is done. He has not improved whatsoever in the last 2.5 years he's been in F1, and frankly, I don't care about his presence anymore. Oh, yes, Ferrari would forget that Kimi was in the race. You're absolutely correct, yeah. The problem with Ferrari is that when Kimi returned to the team back in 2014 is that they basically went back to being a one-car team where they would only focus mostly on either Alonso or Vettel, since, of course, those two were the ones higher up the order. Only to forget about the fact that they always seem to forget that they could take advantage of Kimi Räikkönen and make him use him as a buffer against the cars they were racing against. So, you know, that just sums Ferrari up, really. Although it has to be said, though, Carlos Sainz has done a pretty good job as a number 2, since, of course, Carlos Sainz is very good at pit strategies. You've got to give the young man credit for his ability to climb up positions through pit stops. And yes, you are right. I will never forget October 21st. A wonderful day for Kimi Räikkönen fans, I will say. And what is my opinion on Sainz going to Williams? Goodness me, man. Like, really? Carlos Sainz going to Williams? Like, I don't even know what to say about that. That would be a pretty sad career move, to be honest. That would pretty much end Carlos Sainz as a top team driver, I'm going to be honest. I mean, surely, there's got to be a seat open at Red Bull soon if Perez does not improve, so surely you should wait for Red Bull to sack Perez. Well, what happened to Zhou? 1 minute 40.9, like... Oh, he's gone to the pits, and now he's gone onto the soft tyres. He's pretty much just there. I think he's going to try and get the fastest lap, because what else is he there for now? Although, it has to be said, though, the fastest lap of a 1 minute 14.1 is going to be pretty hard to match by, of course, Lewis Hamilton. Although, of course, we have to remember, Bottas did do a 1 minute 16.5 on a new set of hard tyres back on lap 18. So who knows how fast Zhou can go on his soft tyres. And, of course, he's only got 6 laps of fuel to deal with. Well, you know what they say about pay drivers? They're called pay drivers for a reason. It's because they're not very good, mate. And Sargeant has set a new personal best of a 1 minute 16.4. I never saw that coming. Although, Zhou, on the other hand, is just, goodness me, he's struggling to warm the new soft tyres up. So, really, it's just game over for him, really. And frankly, as his career is progressing, I think it's game over for his career in general. At this rate, I'm not even sure Zhou Guanyu could even get a seat in Renault Clio at this rate if he carries on like this. At least Alex Young had the opportunity to go and race in the Australian V8 Supercars and, of course, the infamous A1 Grand Prix World Cup of Motorsport Series, where he actually won quite a few races there for his home nation of Malaysia. I mean, unless A1 GP comes back for Zhou Guan Yu, I mean, he's probably going to be working as a painter and a designer in his dad's company in the next few years. And Zhou has just set a fastest lap of 1 minute 15.2. Nah, forget it. Mbappe waving the checkered flag after winning Coupe de France yesterday. Well, welcome to the new era of Liberty Media F1, folks. There are just celebrities everywhere. The paddock, I saw pictures of Raphael Varane, Virgil van Dijk, all the Man United players are, of course, absolutely delighted after winning yesterday's FA Cup and sealing Europa League football. Congratulations to them. And, of course, I did not see a single Chelsea player in the paddock since, of course, they're all pretty much too embarrassed to show their faces after yesterday's unexpected result. I mean, we've got one lap. Oh, yeah. We are now heading for the final lap, folks. Leclerc, 9-second gap. Wow, I never saw that. Bloody hell. Leclerc has just been on a mad one. I didn't even notice what Leclerc was doing. I'm so sorry. I was too focused on everyone outside the top four. But Piastri has backed off heavily. He's now... when he's got Sainz and Norris all over his rear wing. And, of course, Leclerc is going to take what is going to be a very comfortable first ever win at home for the local hero here. And for the first time ever in Formula 1 history, a Monaco driver will win the Monaco Grand Prix. History in the making as Leclerc commences onto his final lap around here at Monte Carlo. Based from F1 Unchained, the Sauber car was the worst car this weekend, but Bottas somehow beat Stroll and Sargeant. Yeah, well, that should tell you everything you need to know about those two drivers along with Zhou. Yeah, enough said. I mean, Bottas even managed to overtake Sargeant and Zhou, so what should that tell you? Although, of course, I think in Zhou's case, it was more team orders, whereas in Sargeant's case, it's just Logan Sargeant, really. And now, of course, Leclerc is miles down the tunnel. He is heading for the Nouvelle chicane. All nice and sailing there for the young 26-year-old local hero from here around Monaco. He had to deal with the death of his father at a young age, winning the F2 race around Baku just a day after his dad died. He had to deal with the death of Jules Bianchi almost a decade ago at that fateful day at Suzuka. He also witnessed the death of another close friend in Antoine Hubert at Sport. And now Charles Leclerc will take the checkered flag, and he's won his home Grand Prix, his first win of the season, and his first win in 2 years since the Austrian Grand Prix. Congratulations to Charles Leclerc. Piastri takes second, third Sainz, fourth Norris, fifth Russell, sixth Verstappen, and seventh Hamilton. An impressive 76 lap stint on the medium tyres for the British driver from Norfolk to hold on to fifth place. What a resilient drive that was by George Russell. And of course, Tsunoda, Albon, and Gasly round off the top 10 in impressive performances for those three drivers. Congratulations to the top 10 runners. And loser of the day, I think my personal three rejects of the day have got to be Stroll, Sargeant, and Zhou, of course. As for the incident on the first lap between Magnussen, Hulkenberg, and Perez, well, I mean, Perez and Magnussen, I don't even know what to say about those two anymore. Those two are definitely washed. What can be said? I mean, obviously, obviously, that incident will be put in investigation, and I think we'll get a verdict over who was at fault, because, of course, if Magnussen does get a penalty, he will be facing a race ban in the next race at Canada. In what has been a woeful start to the season for the Danish driver, who's, despite being handed a lifeline in terms of his F1 prospects next season, thanks to Hulkenberg's move to Sauber, it has to be said, Magnussen is definitely now under threat of being replaced by Bottas for next season. And of course, 6 career victories for Charles Leclerc. it's been a long time coming. He has faced some serious turmoil in his time as an F1 driver, but congratulations to the young Monegasque driver. He drove inch perfectly around his home track at the Principality, and the home fans are cheering their hearts out. They've got a home winner at long last in 75 years of racing here at Monaco. The locals have finally seen one of their own reach the top step of the podium here at the streets of Monte Carlo. What a day it is for Formula One, and what a day for Ferrari and the French motorsport community. I've got to say, Bottas is an underrated driver. I think, Bottas would, I think, on current form, deserve a move to Haas. I mean, because let's face it, Sauber are probably going to replace Zhou with Porcher or what's his name, Saint Maloney, and I think Haas will pay Bottas and Oli Behrman next year as their driver partnership. And yes, that's what we're talking about, Charles Leclerc. That's what we're talking about. Congratulations. What a performance. What a day it has been here at Monte Carlo. And thank you very much for coming onto this stream. I don't really have a lot else to say. I mean, I don't really need to explain much more because, well, I think the top 10 pretty much finished as I expected it to. Since, of course, let's face it, Daniel Ricciardo, well, just the same as usual, really. He's been absolutely wiped on the floor with Tsunoda, and he really does need a big performance very soon. Thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, and do all that usual stuff here at Crystal Racing, and I'll see you again next time.